Okay, here's my presentation on short-term memory. This is my first part. So, firstly, I need to show you the multi-store model of memory. And I have this on my tablet, which I can show you right now here. I think you can see that. And basically, it is saying that you start from rehearse, which then gets transferred into the short memory. And then from that, short-term memory becomes forgotten. Okay, so firstly, I have to tell you about the multi-purpose store. The multi-purpose store model was suggested in the 1960s when the cognitive revolution began. And the model is clearly inspired by computer science with the idea that humans as information processors. Okay, the model is based on two assumptions. The first assumption that memory consists of a number of separate stores, and the second that memory processes are sequential. The memory stores are seen as components that operate in conjunctions with permanent memory store through processes such as attention, coding, and rehearsal. So you need to pay attention to something in order to remember it. And you need to give material form which enables you to remember it. Rehearsal simply means keeping material active in memory by repeating it until it can be stored. Now, the model consists of several stores. Information from the world enters sensory memory, which then modality specific, that is related to different senses, such as hearing and vision. Information stays here for a few seconds, and only on a very part of the information attended will continue into the short-term memory. The capacity of the short-term memory, which I will talk more about later, is limited to around 7 items, and its durations are normally between 6 to 12 seconds. Material in short-term memory is quickly lost if it's not given attention. Rehearsals plays a key in a role, which then keeps it stored in the long-term memory. My next slide. So, capacity, we're talking about 3 things, and firstly, capacity is how much information that can be stored. 2, duration, how long the information can be held in the storage. And thirdly, coding, how sensory input is represented by the memory system. Now, here's just some few details first to give you the idea. Information is selected by attention and sensory memory. May pass into short-term memory, which means you need to pay attention for your information to get developed in the short-term memory. And if it's not rehearsed, it will be forgotten. Short-term memory allows us to retain information long enough to use it, such as dialing somebody, calling somebody's phone number. But it's only for an amount that you can remember. After that, you don't remember it anymore. Now, Pedersen and Pedersen have demonstrated that short-term memory lasts approximately between 15 to 30 seconds, unless people rehearse the material, while Miller in 1956 has found that short-term memory has a limited capacity around 7 chunks of information. Now, short-term memory also appears to mostly encode memory acoustically, which is in terms of sound, and I'm pretty sure the other group have already talked about this, as Conrad, 1964, had demonstrated, but can also, I'm not sure how to say this, visuospatial images. And then here's something about encoding and storage of memory. So the process is called encoding and storing. Short-term memory is a buffer that holds a limited amount of information, called immediate memory. Short-term memory, other role is to transfer information into long-term memory, which means there needs repetitions. We need to re-enter information from the short-term memory, and each entry makes it more probable that information will be stored in long-term memory. But this does not mean you just repeat it once or twice. It has to be consecutive and over again for it to be stored. Now, the more focus is put on the meaning, the more effective the coding will be for later retrieval. Now, the limitations of short-term memory is that there is a trade-off between processing and reattention. Processing is working memory, and reattention is immediate memory. That means the more processing we do, the fewer chunk of information we can simultaneously maintain. Now, here's a little about the duration. Now, Pedersen and Pedersen in 1956 investigated the duration of short-term memory with their trigram experiment. They achieved this by asking subjects to remember a single nonsense syllable of 3 components, And this can be letters such as FJT or KPM or KPD or anyhow. Giving them an interpolated task stop them rehearsing the trigram, such as counting back in threes from 100, making sure that they don't rehearse it. Testing them recall after 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, or other seconds. Recall had to be perfect and incorrect order to count. While average recall was very good, 80%, after 3 seconds, the average dropped dramatically to 10% after 18 seconds. Now a little about capacity. So, short-term memory appears to have a limited storage capacity. Miller found that the amount of information retained could be increased by chunking the information, packaging it into longer items or units. Although it can normally retain 7 chunks, but it could be minus a two chunks, depending on the person. Now, in encoding, encoding is argued that it's a main way information is encoded in short-term memory through sound, which I said before about acoustics. Rhyming letters were significantly harder to recall properly than non-rhyming letters, mostly due to acoustic confusion errors, which makes this not 100% sure way that this is proven, but it has been proven by it has not been fully proven, but there have been cases shown that it is possible. Now, the brain can only hold 6 to 7 bits of information. Eddinghaus, 1885 and Watt, 1860s. Chunking, Miller, 1956, is when already established memory stores are used to categorize and encode new information to expand the brain ability to store more information. To chunk, you need to know the rule or the code. Reducing larger to smaller bits of information, giving meaning of materials, like arranging letters into words, or words into phrases, phrase into sentences, can change. Well, and like I said before, amount of chunking is limited into plus or minus 7. And this is my part of the presentation. And later on, Charlotte talks about all the different studies that have been shown. Thank you.